TTAC meeting to order. I'd like to call the TTAC meeting to order. There was being a couple minutes late, I forced order of business, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can order business, a roll call.
Mr. DeLessio from City of Ansonia. Jamie Gracie or Rob Brzezinski from Beacon Falls. Don O'Neill from Bethlehem. Mr. Rogozinski. Merrick Kemet, Cheshire. Dan Bombero, Cheshire. Philip Straker, Cheshire. Yes. Megan Sloan, CT Metro. Mike Dictionary, Derby. Ron Knopf, Derby. Matthew Abbott, DOT.
Here.
Staccato, DOT. Nick Siderick, Middlebury.
Here. Can you hear me?
I see First Selectwoman Mar here from Middlebury.
Hi, Nick.
Okay. And I see James Stewart, Naugatuck is here.
I'm here.
Dawn Helen or Wayne from Oxford.
Okay.
Joseph. So
I'm here.
So say it for me.
Sutneski.
From Plymouth.
Yeah.
Bob Chatfield, Prospect. Brian Nesteriak, Seymour. Matthew Tarnowski, South Ferry is here.
Here.
First Selectman Cilio is here from Thomaston.
Here.
Dave Simpson or Roy Kavanaugh from Waterbury.
Ben Caterino here for Lord Kavanaugh.
Ben Caterino. Thank you. Jerry Lukowski is here. Bob Benovich
Yes.
is here from Watertown. David Busquet from Woodbury. And names I have Mark Pasadento.
Ed Belval, I'm here for Town of Woolcott.
Okay. What's your name?
Belval, Belbal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Did I miss anybody?
Just me, Jeff Hopper here for Luke's Consulting on behalf of the City of Derby.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you for call. Just moving on, a public comment. Is there anyone here from the general public to speak? I do see a hand, but is that for, that's not for,
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, I got kicked from the Zoom meeting.
I'm done. I'm here with CT Rides.
Yes, I'll be
Thank
getting
you.
a presentation up shortly.
Okay. No one from the general public. Adoption of the February meetings of February 4th, 2026. Is there a motion to come before the committee? So, is there a second?
Who was that?
Paul.
Oh, sorry. A motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not,
Second it?
all in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded the motion, please?
I will.
Thank you.
And I will abstain. Just letting Slayer.
Thank you.
A guest speaker, Dante Spell, CT Rides.
And I will get it up. Sorry about that. All right, should be good.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, guys. Name's Dante again. I'm the Outreach and Engagement Specialist for CT Rides, covering for Sarah Roy today. Can you do next slide? A little bit about me again. I'm the outreach and engagement specialist, and recently I moved over into the Naugatuck+Valley area. So I'm not sure if Sarah's going to be fully transitioning off, but for the meantime, I'm going to be covering for her. What I do is I partner with employers, municipalities, and regional organizations, just like the Naugatuck Valley COG, and we promote alternative commuting options. So we focus in on public transit, carpooling, biking, walking, and telework, especially. So my focus is really just building a strong community and employer partnerships. We want to advance sustainability as well as access to transportation, and that includes promoting healthier, more efficient ways to commute. And we advocate for promoting public transportation as reliable transportation. I think a lot of times when I talk to people, especially in my background, people always think of just having a car as being reliable transportation. So we try to push the fact that we have robust public transportation available in Connecticut and some different options as well. Next slide. So about CT Rides, CT Rides is a program of the Connecticut DOT. We've been helping residents and employers explore smarter commuting options, again, like commuting and public transit and things, since the early 2010s. My goal and my outreach is to change mindsets regarding the use of public transportation for commuters. And then in working with employers, we want to help people or employers achieve organizational and corporate sustainability goals. We want to promote wellness as well as employee engagement goals. Next slide. So CT Rise matters, I believe, more so because we can reduce traffic congestion. As we travel these roads in Connecticut, we know how it can get, especially on those peak hours. When you think about the creation of highways and whatnot, it was created for a certain amount of cars and congestion. So right now it's definitely overly congested. So we want to try to mitigate that as much as we can. On the sustainability side, you want to improve air quality. And then we support employers and workforce mobility. And right now, especially, we can save people money. You know, on average, the car payments right now range anywhere between like $550 a month up to $800 plus. And then when we sprinkle in the current gas situation, it costs a lot, you know, to commute throughout the state. So we want to save people money. And then we want to maximize the existing transportation systems again. You know, when people don't utilize the transportation we have, that can affect the availability of it all across the state. Next slide. Oh, well, the big picture, you can go back. Thanks. So the CT Rides was created as a broader effort. And again, as it's supported by the Connecticut DOT, we want to make commuting more efficient, affordable, and sustainable without relying solely on expanding the highways. As we know, that takes a long time to get those things done. Next slide. So today, I'm going to talk about the General Driverless Connecticut Challenge for 2026, and I'm also going to talk about the NVCOG iteration of it. And then I'm going to talk about your local transportation options around the NVCOG, and then answer any questions you guys have. Next slide. All right. So for the Drive Less CT Challenge in 2026, it's an annual statewide event. So as we focus on employers, this is also something that is available to the general public. And it starts on April 22nd, 2026, and then it goes through to May 31st, 2026. And we really focus on trying to promote sustainable modes of transportation instead of driving alone. So that includes the telecommutes, train, public transit, carpools, van pools, biking, microtransit, walking, etc. Okay. Next slide. So for the Naugatuck Valley Driveless CT Challenge, we have a goal set. And the NVCOG goals are 20,000 less vehicle miles traveled collectively. And that's referred to as VMT. If you see that, what is it, acronym, for the NVCOG staff and municipal staff in NVCOG 19 municipalities. And then 2,000 trips reduced for the duration of the challenge. And again, that's between April 22nd and May 31st. So those numbers seem big, but through a collective effort, if everyone participates, or if some people participate, let's say, 15, 20% participate, is definitely achievable. We want to reduce single occupancy vehicle trips, and we don't want to eliminate driving alone completely. I've got 4 kids. We got practices and store runs and all of those things. So it's not something that I would say is realistic to eliminate all of your single use individual trips. We want to reduce some of them if we can. Make small, realistic changes that make a big impact. Um, every trip logged counts, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when it comes to the app. And if you can automate your trips, that's great, but you can also enter them manually. Next slide. So ways to participate in Naugatuck Valley would again be to use public transit, local and regional. Walk or bike for short trips. If you need to run to the store or you just want to take a ride to do a quick errand, walk or biking is a good option. Combining errands in one trip is a great thing for me. I do a lot of trip chaining. So instead of going out at 5 different times during the day, you can plan your trips into one trip, and handle them, efficiently that way. Telework is big because with telework, you're saving a lot of mileage. And I think a lot of people don't think about that sometimes. So definitely log your work from home days, whether that's 5 days a week, 4 days a week. The example I like to use is if you work from home 3 days a week, let's say Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, maybe you commute 30 miles in, 30 miles back. That's you contributing 180 miles per week saved, if you're teleworking. So make sure you log that and you can automate that as well. And then carpooling with coworkers is always a great idea. I find that it's underutilized, but internally, I do find that there are some workers in different locations that do carpool, and that saves a lot of mileage as well as gas. Next slide. So, how NVCOG and organizations can compete to start is really you versus you. Um, I think these days we're pretty set in our ways when we drive. So I've had to check myself a little bit when it comes to it. So it's you versus you. As you start, understand that there's some things that you might be able to change through this challenge. So if that means, taking a bus once a week or, hopping on a bike and riding to the store versus driving down the street, it's those types of things. So even if you don't want to, excuse me, compete, with the team or externally, internally, whatever the case, you can make changes for yourself, and that adds to a more sustainable Connecticut. You can create internal workplace challenges. What's going on with the NVCOG? You encourage team-based participation. The more people that do it, the easier you'll get to that goal. And then recognize top participants or departments. If there's somebody that's going above and beyond in this, my hope is that they'll be recognized. And you can compete against other Connecticut regions for bragging rights. We do have other regions that are participating in this Drive Less Challenge. So that's always something that can be compared as well. Next slide. So what I will say again, just keep it realistic. Participation does not have to be daily. You want to start with any number of trips that you like per week. They do add up fast. So, you might not think that your, 3 reduced trips a week may add up, but if there's 30 people doing it, again, that adds up really fast to those 2,000 trips. You want to choose options that fit your everyday life and commute to and from work. There's a lot of people I engage with that have, a bus stop that comes right down the street from their home that can drop them off right in front of their workplace. If something like that works, try it out, see how it goes. We've got the fast track, we got CT transit and a bunch of micro transit options that might work for you. Next slide. Track and win. So through the app, you want to log those trips in the CT Rides app. So for each entry that you're able to put in, when you collect those reward points, there's a chance to win gift cards up to $500. So it starts at 25, but it can go up to 500, with 500 being the biggest reward. So the more activity you log, the more chances you have to put those reward points towards those gift cards. Next slide. So through the app, you can do carpool matching. It connects you to public transit options. You can see the environmental impact of what you're doing or what you're not doing. The savings calculators there. Again, you can accumulate and track those rewards. Then it also connects you to different events that might be happening around the state. Next slide. So the good stuff, as far as what I see, is you can track your impact individually. And then on a further push, we can connect that through the Agile Mile. But as far as the app goes, you can see individual stats like this. Like for instance, this app user was using since September 2022. They saved over $13,600 by way of gas and things like that. They saved 941 gallons in gas, and then on the walking side, they burned 41,000 calories, which is cool. Let's see, and then you can also look at some statewide stats as well when it comes to emissions saved and things of that nature. Next slide. So as far as your local transportation option goes, there's a ton in Naugatuck Valley. I tried to include as much as I could. So we got the Greater Bridgeport Transit and GBT Connect Micro Transit, Greater Waterbury Transit District, Valley Transit District. So those are some of your micro transit types of options. We've got the Metro North Railroad, Waterbury Branch Line, and then of course we've got the CT Transit and CT Fast Track. So with the fast track, it'll get you from Waterbury to Bristol to New Britain to Hartford. So definitely utilize that if it makes sense to your commute. Next slide. So I thank you guys for your time, and I'm excited that you're participating in the Drive Less Challenge for Naugatuck Valley. If you have any questions or anything outside of today, that's my email address on the bottom, dante.spell@ctrides.com. And at this point, do you guys have any questions?
Thanks, for the information. I open it up, the questions. I guess before I guess I do that. It's been a while since I've seen the numbers, but I was surprised the last time I looked with all the telecommuting, telework. You would think that travel miles are going down, but not the case when you look at like the national data. Of course, I saw data for Connecticut. I guess not to put you on the spot, but can you speak to that or?
Well, I know on the telework side, of course it was a boom, during the COVID time. I know it's going down, but there's still a good amount of companies that are still advocating for the telework. So I think it really just depends on the company, what people are doing. I know sometimes, like right now, people are doing a couple of days a week to 3 days a week. So it all depends, but it's definitely a big impact, when you think about it regarding the miles and whatnot. So my shout is really just to make sure you're logging that. I think with the app, sometimes people do their thing, but they just don't log it. So on my side as an outreach specialist, I'm just telling people if you use the app, log it. You'll be able to see the impact, and I think that is good when you can tell what that contributes to sustainability, because I know we have a lot of goals and things throughout Connecticut. It's a good way to leverage the impact, and hopefully, with that, maybe that becomes a bigger thing.
Thanks. And then a question probably more for VCOG, and VCOG staff. Has there been any NVCOG communities that have participated in the DOT bus shelter program, that have actually received a bus shelter or entered into a maintenance agreement with the DOT for bus shelters? If not, I can talk to you, offline. Like Bristol's aware of the real quick DOT's program where essentially they will, they've indicated that getting a new replacement or a new bus shelter, they would provide it. They do require that we execute a maintenance agreement that says, we maintain everything, except if there's a structural problem with the bus shelter. I would say that under the previous administration, and honestly, based on, Public Works, concerns associated with meeting those commitments, didn't execute it. I think, essentially, to their credit, our new administration certainly is putting an emphasis on public transportation, so we're revisiting that issue. I just want to know if any NVCOG communities are working through the same concerns.
I think there are a couple other communities that are. I don't want to just put them on the spot. I don't remember exactly where they are in the process, but I know there's at least one or two other towns that are involved.
I definitely like to get additional information on it, because I got one location that I need a bus shelter for.
Yeah. Recently, this week when I talked to the DOT, it seems like there's still money for it. They, I don't know how quick of a process, but they're very open to providing, bus shelters. Once again, our concern was just meeting the maintenance requirements. Any other questions for the speaker?
You can get a copy of that presentation.
Maybe we can send it out.
Thank you very much. If no questions, just thank you very much for the information. We're moving on to item 3, transportation planning. The first item, 2027, 2030, TIP adoption and overview of the draft fiscal year 2027, 2030, CMV and MOP budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I briefly want to spend some time today going over the new 2027 to 2030 Central Naugatuck Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization, or CNV MPO Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. So I'll cover what the TIP is, go over this new iteration, the role of the CNV MPO in the TIP, along with what is the CNV MPO for some of our newer members, as well as our recommended motion, which is on the bottom, but you'll see that later on. Next slide. So what is the CNV MPO TIP? All transportation improvement projects receiving federal funding within the Central Naugatuck Valley region are placed on a document called the Transportation Improvement Program every 4 years. So it's basically just a long list of projects that are funded by the federal government and the state government. And these all kind of originate from our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which Joanna is currently in the process of developing, and the state's Long Range Transportation Plan, which is prepared by the Connecticut DOT. So as I mentioned, this program has a 4-year timeline, basically maps out funding paths over the course of 4 fiscal years. In this case, it's 27 to 2030. The CNV MPO is 15 of our 19 members. It excludes 4 municipalities in the lower valley. We'll have a map of that later just so you guys can see it. And these transportation improvement projects are based on federal performance measures. I listed them out here. Basically, we prioritize, and CONDOT prioritizes these projects based on their ability to improve highway safety, pavement and bridge condition, system reliability, freight movement, air quality, and transit quality. Next slide. So, sorry for the wall of words here, but this is just kind of a summary of what we're looking at in terms of the transportation improvement program that was put in front of us and that we've prepared. So for the Central Naugatuck Valley MPO, there's about $1.4 billion of projects within our transportation improvement program. But there's actually, in terms of the physically constrained dollar amount of projects just going on in our region, it's about $158 million. The discrepancy for this is explained by the fact that on our TIP, there are statewide projects. So let's say the state wants to spend $450 million on bridge improvements across the state. They're going to put that on our program, on our document, and we're going to approve it. But within that, there's, let's say, 20 million in bridge projects for 1 year. So, it's difficult to separate out the CNV MPO elements from the statewide elements. There's also a lot of transit projects on there. So, yeah.
Very sorry to interrupt, but just the TIP has funds that don't necessarily go, in my words, go through NVCOG. So for example, we have lots of funds.
Yep.
That are part of this, but certainly not inclusive of this. For example, the LASIP, regionally, we don't allow bridges. The reason why you see bridges on here is because TIP funds capture more funds than just lots of funds.
So I'll say, LOCTIP is specifically state dollars. It's a state-run program. TIP is all federal money, so LOCTIP doesn't really cross paths with TIP at all. But in terms of how the TIP projects are going, like you said, there's different funding categories based on different projects that the federal side has, and then DOT helps allocate them to all the various projects, both in the region and across the entire state, such as the bridge projects.
Yep. So these are on the TIP. It's split into 3 categories of funding: state, federal, and local. And because of the way we do our TIP in Connecticut, it's functionally just state and federal dollars. About 82% federal dollars, 18% state dollars, with maybe $2 million of private sector investment. So that's what this TIP is really looking at, those kind of larger state and federal projects, like you said, for bridges and highway repaving and things like that. And kind of on the right here, you can see a list of some of the kind of big hitter projects that are on this iteration of the TIP. So a really big one is the Oxford Stevenson Dam project. We'll talk a little more about that later. There's a repavement project, auxiliary lane project on 94 roundabouts, signals, safety improvements, and a lot of dollars going into bridges. That's not all inclusive, but it's some of the kind of major things we're looking at. Next slide. So I just also wanted to cover, before wrapping things up, what the CNV-MPO actually does with regards to the TIP. So the CNV-MPO policy board, which is made up of the 15 CEOs of the municipalities you can see on the screen there on the right, they have final say in whether or not the TIP is adopted and whether or not these funds get programmed into these projects that are laid out in front of us. This means they could fully adopt the TIP, they can partially adopt the TIP, or they could fully reject the TIP. The reason we mention this is because there is a pretty hefty project in the TIP this time around. It's the $134 million Stevenson Dam project, which is going to happen in Oxford and Monroe. Our current motion for TTAC is to recommend full adoption of this TIP to the policy board. However, we are working with our friends at CTDOT to get more details about this project. Just to clarify, we don't have the full range of details that we really need to, in good faith, recommend adoption of this dam project. And depending on where our communication goes with CTDOT, we may not recommend the board to adopt this element of the project. We may just recommend the board to adopt every project and stay neutral on this one and let them deliberate. But for now, we just wanted to mention that. We are going to recommend full adoption just to not confuse the board for you guys. So next slide. If there's any questions or discussion on anything I just mentioned, more than glad to clarify, but that's all I got.
And if I may, this, I believe it has come up in the past. Like
Yes.
if a municipality has a project that is moving forward for a grant, it's not on the TIP. The TIP has been modified
Yep.
because it's a requirement of some grants that is on the TIP.
Yes, we could always pass a TIP amendment. This is pretty standard for anyone here at TTAC or, obviously members of our policy board or the COG board. We can always amend this document later on, either changing funding amounts, adding new projects, as long as it's kind of in alignment with our long-term planning goals.
I will say I'd say like almost every board meeting have at least one TIP amendment, if
Yep.
not more.
And then the TIP is not in priority order, so even the dam project, but I guess what would be the downside to having it for the fund?
The downside, not necessarily the downside, but our main concern is that we just don't know the full details of the project. I mean, the dam and the bridge along it, it has to get work done. It could be a safety issue, it can be state of good repair issue. But if we don't have the full range of information and details that we need to approve a $134 million project, we just can't do so in good faith as kind of stewards of, the transportation assets in our region, if that makes sense.
Because, one could ask, I'm not asking you,
No,
why is it on a transportation project for the dam project?
it's because the bridge goes along the dam, the Stevenson Dam.
Through the chair, does this take Route 34 off of the dam? 'Cause I saw some original designs where it was to the north of the dam, so it won't stay with the dam. Because right now they're together.
Mhm.
So it's not replacing the whole dam, it's just building a new
The new
bridge,
bridge, yeah.
and it's to the north of the existing dam.
Do you know any more details, Kevin?
I haven't seen the details recently, but I kind of vaguely remember what you're
Yes.
talking about, but
Yeah.
this is part of what we're saying, we're trying to get details about the project. These are all the questions we have.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's kind of the concern that we have, is we don't know the full details of the
This has
project.
been going on for a few decades.
Yeah.
Ray,
for this.
if I might, this is Mark. I have some history on this project, so maybe I can just sort of, provide a little bit of clarification. The Route 34 goes on top of the Stevenson Dam. The plan that the state has sort of putting forward that they did a few years ago had two options. One, to build a new bridge, upstream of the dam, so to go across Lake Zor, or extend 34 down past, south of the dam, and then crossing on a shorter bridge over the Housatonic River, downstream of the dam. The big issue is, just it has to do more with who's responsible for the road going on the bridge and the condition of that road. And I'm being honest, it's from an agreement between the predecessors of First Light, and at the time the counties involved in the area for the construction of the dam. And this dates back to 1919. So it's an agreement that dates, goes back over 100 years. And at that time, the dam owner basically is responsible for the maintaining the quality and condition of the road on top of the dam. So that's sort of the issue that is being, put forth. Should the federal dollars and state dollars be used solely to, remove the road from the dam and build a new structure, or is First Light responsible for some of that construction costs? And that's what has sort of been the hang up in the past, has been, a clarification of whose responsibility it is to pay for the construction. First Light wants the road removed from the top of the dam, for obvious reasons, and the state wants to, remove it from the dam as well for, to improve traffic flow and, the infrastructure condition that's currently there. That is the essence of and we've been, well, this thing goes back, I want to say 10 years or so, and we've never got a clear answer from the state regarding that issue that was raised that many years ago. Um, so it is something that's on our radar because we don't want to just, because once a project is put on the tip and it is endorsed by the board, uh, the state can go ahead and start, doing funding, requesting funding and programming and things like that. And we want to get some of these issues resolved prior to, that occurring. So that's currently where we're at.
Okay. Thanks for the additional information. Is there any motion to come before the committee?
There is a recommended motion. The recommended motion is currently to recommend adoption of the fiscal year 2027 to 2030 TIP to the Central Naugatuck+Valley NPO Policy Board. As we mentioned, we're currently recommending full adoption of the TIP. And if any issues were to come up to the policy board, we'd let them know.
Is there a committee member to put forth a motion?
Well, we're gonna keep the road and dam project in the tip or be neutral on that one?
That's to TTAC's deliberation. However, NVCOG does recommend full adoption.
Is there a committee member put forth a motion?
I'll put it forward.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Whatever.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Comments? We'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passed. Next item, lots of cost changes, intersection improvements at the junction of Matthews Street, Judd Road, and East Plymouth Road, Plymouth. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. So this is a LOCTIP project that's been around for a while on our books. There's the full title. I'll just kind of refer to it as Torrey Crossing, instead of that long thing. So this project, like I said, on the books for a while. The town of Plymouth is looking to get this project up and moving again. And the main component of this project is they want to relocate the existing intersection. Right now it's like a weird massive pavement, it's like four or five roads intersecting together, depending on how you want to count and how big you think the intersection is. So you kind of want to clarify that. There's also some grading issues or some existing slope issues with the roadway. So they kind of want to shift the intersection and build a new intersection for all of these roads coming together. So the new project cost for this project is $3.1 million. And the recommended motion is to approve the additional allocation for this project. And of course, I'll take any questions.
What has been the, region's experience with respect to a comparison between like the cost estimate at this phase versus actual project cost?
In terms of
Like, for example, I'll speak specifically, like, we have a sidewalk project on Shrub Road. That estimate is like 4 million. It's inconceivable to me, that a sidewalk project, even where we came well, wound up costing, 4 million. But honestly, I didn't really, like put pressure on our, consultant. It is, what it is. He's using DOT cost method, but I think at the end of the day, it's in Bristol is gonna be considerably, more. Of course, that's a sidewalk project, so maybe it's more straightforward. What has the region's experience been?
So with over the past couple of years, we've just been seeing project costs go up and up and up, just kind of across the board, regardless of what project or project type it is. And the reality is, it is what it is to a degree. We work with the towns and the engineering firms to try to get the best estimates that they can come up at the time. And that's kind of the best knowledge we have. I know personally, I kind of round up aggressively because project costs do just tend to go up over time. So it's always better to kind of show a higher dollar value than realize, oh, we can save a couple $100,000 and everyone's a little happier.
That, and I'm sorry, what phase are they in now?
So they're in like preliminary design right now. This project started several years ago, actually before my time here, but kind of sat on a shelf that didn't really have a lot of action for a period of time, but the town's looking to move it forward again.
And if the new one is 3.1, I apologize if you said this. So what was the original?
I think the original was somewhere like one.
Yeah, around
Yeah,
1.7.
it's like 1.7 or so.
That was maybe 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other questions before a motion is made, or? If not, is there a motion to come for the committee?
Just can't be Paul and Jerry all the time.
Sure. This. I'd like to make a motion to approve the additional offset funds for this Town of Plymouth intersection improvements.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And it would be really helpful if you would say your name before you say the motion. Everybody.
Yes.
Thanks.
The motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion or comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Next item, a new lot set project, North Main Street rehabilitation and complete street improvements, Beacon Falls, no?
Chairman, so this is a new Lockett project that Beacon Falls is really getting into. They want to reconstruct a north and south Main Street in their downtown. The existing road is a four-lane road with a pretty large median in the middle, as you can see in the picture. And the construction limits are going all the way from the intersection of Route 42 when it comes down the mountain and it turns up all the way up to just past the Route 8 on ramps on Church Street. So the town has a pretty big vision with the project, going to do a lot of significant roadway improvements, and that is reflected in the cost. This is a $15.1 million project. So of course, if you have any questions about that, I will always answer them, but the town is really excited to get this project done, and we're looking forward to see how this can reshape downtown Beacon Falls. So there's a recommended motion to include this project into the Lockett program, and I'll take any questions.
In respect to overall funding, when you put this project in, like, obviously, it's first come, first served as projects get, completed. Are any projects being deferred because of funding?
So we're anticipating that we'll be actually hitting our lots of allocation like maximum in terms of spending this summer with a lot of projects coming out. So this project won't be constructed for I'd say a couple of years, maybe like 28, 29, somewhere in that ballpark. But this project's also in like concept/preliminary design, so there's still a lot of design work to go ahead. The way we kind of envision projects in our Watch It program is want to get designs lined up as much as we can. So then once we have the money available, we can get the project moving. We can always get the design moving ahead because, as some of you may know, there's always design hiccups. Things take longer. Things come up during design that you can't foresee. So you want to just kind of fire those out beforehand.
Not the, of course, TTAC meetings are no judgment zone, but the use of reference complete street, if Beacon Falls have a complete street policy.
I don't remember offhand if the town had a complete streets policy fully, but in terms of this project, we've been looking at it and making comments on it, and we've been asking them to incorporate, and they have been incorporating several complete streets aspects into this project. I don't actually know offhand if they have a policy, and I can double check on that.
If I may, through the chair, they do have an adopted complete.
They do? Okay.
Hey, any questions or comments before a motion is made?
What's the total length of this, Kevin, do you know?
It's like a mile, a little over a mile. It's a very large project.
Oh, I realize that, but it doesn't go against this year's.
Yeah.
Ceiling, whatever.
Yeah, so this, like I said, we're not anticipating the project we built until like 28 or 29, so.
Who's the designer?
The designer's SLR.
And knowing, what are we, 19 communities for NVCOG? Are we spreading them out between the 19 communities? Because this is a pretty big project.
Well, I mean, I guess I just say this for new, people at the table, and they, certainly NVCOG can, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did adopt policies. One of the policies is that any community can only have 2 construction projects going at the same time. That's not the case with design. Multiple projects can be approved. Municipalities are responsible, obviously, for their own design, but only 2 projects can be under construction at a time.
Yes, that's correct. So a town can have as many projects in the Watch It program as they want. They can have like 10, if they want 10 projects all going through various design phases. But when it comes to actual construction, each town can only have 2 projects under construction at the same time.
And I remember we didn't put a dollar value to that.
We did not.
Yeah.
Can I ask a point of order question? So the recommendation is to approve this project at this investment level, but chances are that's going to change.
Yes, that was.
So are we approving that amount right now, and when the final amount comes, it comes back to this group?
So what happens is anytime there's a cost increase that's more than 20% of the previous approved cost, the project must come in front of TTAC and the board again for a reapproval, stating why the cost has gone up by 20%. And some of it might be inflation, some of it might be the scope changes, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I'm not questioning it. It will go up, right? So.
Unless it's Bristol Shrub Road Sidewalk project. Is there a motion from the committee members to put forth? Paul, Jerry?
Is Beacon Falls here to discuss it, or?
I do not believe Beacon Falls is here today.
No.
Paul Benevich, motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Rich Slayo, second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion, comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, on-call engineering list, Kate, I know. Kate, you put a lot of work into this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to give some background, we keep an on-call engineer list. We typically use it for the LOCTIP program when we do third-party reviews. And then every 3 years, we do ask for requests for qualifications, and we renew the list. So this process has been going on the last 2 months. From the TTAC committee, I want to thank Roy Kavanaugh, Sheila O'Malley, and Paul for serving on the committee to choose this list. And from NVCOG staff, Shahadat, Tayo, Tom, and myself. So there was 8 of us. We put the RFQ out at the end of last year. We received 23 responses. And then from the RFQ, we came up with a scoring rubric. There was 20 categories from the RFQ that we were looking for, ranking on a scale from 1 to 10. We distributed the 23 submissions amongst the group. We had 2 municipal reviewers, 2 staff reviewers for each. And then we averaged the scores. And then we also did ask if anyone had experience working on projects with the companies. So from that list of 23, we came up with this final list of 15 firms. And we want to recommend them to this committee for recommendation for approval to the NVCOG board. Does anyone have any questions on the process?
I have questions. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, by all means.
You're the chair.
We're very informal.
Who's new on this list?
So we do have some new folks. So the list last time around, we had 18 submissions and 9 firms on the list. I believe this time around, and please, I can pull up the previous list. I believe AKRF is new, Kleinfelder may be new, SLR is new. And if I can pull up the list right now so I can compare them side by side. And again, we were looking at folks that we've worked with before, but also objectively by the qualifications.
The only thing I was gonna say is honestly, it was a fairly extensive process and there was a very, very long list. I'd say, you know, like, how many are there?
15.
I mean, yeah, there's, you know, so there's a long list. The issue is where to draw the line. Ultimately, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a long list, but it is a long list.
I'm not questioning the process.
Yeah, no,
At all.
I know.
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, I would love to see the rubric scores for these.
Yeah.
Love to see the rubric and the scores just for these,
Mhm.
because I'm presuming that some of these are better in some areas than others. So it would be helpful for a new CEO like myself to have some understanding of, is one of these stronger in one category that I'm focused in at the moment than others, right?
Yeah.
You all may have more experience with all these folks. I do not, unfortunately, so that rubric with the scores for this particular group would be very helpful for me to guide me through. There are also a lot of other new CEOs this round,
Mhm.
in the NVCOG, so
Do
that would be helpful.
you want to know like what, like right now for,
No.
or like in?
No.
Okay.
No.
And we looked
You
at,
could share that.
yeah, sure,
Right?
yeah.
Like, and just for these,
Yep.
right? Just so I know when I'm going through, if I'm looking for a very specific, if I have a very specific project or a project that leans heavily into, I don't know, construction versus environmental engineering, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, so I know which ones do I pick out that scored best in that area, and then I can work from there.
Yep, and to be fair, we did try to find the well-rounded firms because, and they also use subcontractors, so they did have to mention when they were using a subcontractor for maybe something that they don't do in-house. But since LOTSIP does cover a lot of types of projects, bridges, sidewalk, pavement, we wanted to make sure that they had like the whole range traffic. But I will share that for reference.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Yep.
historically,
Yeah.
in my personal experience, any rubric is really informative when you're trying to make decisions that way.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I can do
I
that.
second that request.
Okay. I could send this for sure.
And what's the mechanism for a town to utilize this list?
I don't think there is a mechanism. We can share the list with you,
Okay.
for internal mechanism.
There's no formal mechanism like Kate was just saying, but once we have the approved list, instead of a town going through the qualification process, you can just go straight to the negotiation and pricing with the pre-approved list.
Yep.
Now, for me, the answer to that, I think that obviously, at VCOG's perspective, I think the answer, like for the municipality, is all dependent upon what their own procurement, requirements, are. With that said, this process, and quite frankly, being aware of other NVCOG contracts, I don't want to get sidetracked. I probably was going to ask for a list of all like contracts that like are open to municipalities to piggyback. And then I probably would even go to our, we have those are board overseen by our Board of Finance. I probably would even go to our Board of Finance and say revise our purchasing manual to allow us to utilize NVCOG contracts. That's for us, that's currently not the place. That's currently not the case for whatever reason. And maybe it's just a leftover. We actually piggyback Hartford's COG on like a Saul, but on Saul, but once again, I don't want to get off topic, but if you could, can you provide a list of other contracts that have been publicly bid and are available for municipalities? This may be the only one, I don't know.
So there's this one. I don't know if environmental has one either. Do you have a pre-approved list of brownfields? I think they might. Brownfields
list, yeah.
Okay.
But if I can at least get those, I probably would make an effort to change our purchasing requirement to allow us to utilize those. Some of that would be questions to like NVCOG to confirm that it was a public bid.
If I may also just add, there also is the Capital Region Purchasing Council, which has some bids that may be of interest to you that you could then kind of like hop on and join in on. So I encourage checking that out.
But on the specific topic of engineers list, any other questions, comments from?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, I do have the previous list, and I do note that the new companies on this list are AECOM, AKRF, Beta Group, GM2 Associates, Jacobs, KS Engineers, SLR, STV, VHB, and Weston and Sampson. Those are new to the list. Thank you.
Most of the list.
A good portion of the list, yes.
And I would also say, being familiar with the last process, some of those, although not all, is a function that they didn't submit last time. So it's not like they submitted last time, and they make the list. Some of those firms didn't submit last time.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
If there's no more questions, is there a motion to come forth before the committee?
This is Rich. I'll make a motion to recommend the on-call engineering services recommended list to the NVCOG board for approval.
Is there a second?
Jerry to second it.
Any comments or discussions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
The tech project, Mark.
Okay, good morning. Thank you. Just a quick update. We've talked about this Protect project, over, last, few months or maybe going on a year, but just wanted to let you know, the project has been initiated. It's, intended to do a vulnerability and risk assessment of local bridges, culverts, low-lying roads, things like that. And it's covering the whole, what we call the non-coastal area of Connecticut. So we're partnering with CROG, the Capital Region, Northwest Hills, and Northeast COG. And the focus is solely on that infrastructure that is owned by local communities. DOT is doing a similar type of risk assessment for state assets statewide. And, that's why we wanted to focus in on local, because the state project was not going to get really that deep into facilities owned by the local communities. Anyway, as I said, the project has now been initiated, which means we finalized the scope of work. We have completed the fee negotiations. We've executed an agreement with ICF Incorporated. They're the consulting firm that was selected. They're out of New York City. We held a kickoff meeting March 24th just to go over some of the logistics and getting this started. So the big item that I want to talk about with the TTAC is we're going to be starting to work with our municipalities to request information. Basically, the first step is identifying what you think are vulnerable assets in your community. So that's going to sort of form the basis of an initial review and assessment. So we'll be reaching out to public works directors, town engineers, city engineers, emergency management directors, anybody else we can think of within each of the communities to try to start putting that list together. So, like I said, we're real excited about getting the project going. We have a schedule for 20 months start to finish. So, in less than 2 years, we should have, the project completed. And once we've identified priority projects, they will become eligible for federal funding for, rehabilitation, replacement, or other action to try to reduce vulnerabilities. And again, we're looking mostly at, the effects of, severe weather events that cause severe flooding, sort of like what happened back in August 2024. So, but just a heads up. So we'll be reaching out to you, next few weeks. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks for the information. And once again, the first round is going to be towns identifying the areas of concern.
Yeah, because you sort of have the experience and sort of the local knowledge of, what have been issues. But we are going to be doing a more of an engineering approach as well to actually look at FEMA has flood maps that I think that everybody sort of feels are out of date. And so one of the aspects of this project is we're going to be trying to come up with more current flood maps that then the towns can use to actually identify going forward what local assets may be vulnerable to flooding. So, but yeah, that's going to be the first step is reaching out to you guys.
Yeah, I don't want to get sidetracked, but this plan doesn't include a new FEMA maps. That probably exceeds anything that NVCOG will get. Honestly, Bristol happens to be getting all new FEMA floodplain maps that have been going on for like 4 years. Some of it is even like some of the procedural and even registration things are maps. As recently as the other day, I was talking to deep. I was still like a year out, but they've been working on it for 5 years.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see how the mapping that we come up with correlates with what FEMA comes up with, because there is a lot of concern that the FEMA maps tend to underestimate the hazard. So we'll see.
Yeah, once again, we'll obviously in contact, but we'll reply. I would tell you that Bristol probably familiar, same as most communities, most of our, small flooding areas aren't even FEMA floodplains.
Right.
Any questions, comments from our?
Okay, thanks. And yeah, we'll keep, obviously keep everyone posted, and we will keep this, the Protect project as a recurring item on the TTAC. So you'll be we kept up to date on our progress.
Thank you. Again, any questions or comments, Mark? If not, moving on, RSA training in Watertown. T2 program.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to just share some information about an upcoming training. We will be partnering with the T2 Center and going to Watertown for a training on how to operate in a road safety audit. So these are something that we are doing more of here at NVCOG. And this training will allow you to learn a bit more how they operate. It'll include how to form a team. We'll actually conduct a short field audit in Watertown, and we will learn what to look out for when we do an RSA. I encourage anyone that's interested to register sooner than later, because last time I checked, and this was almost a month ago, there was only 20 spots left. So it's May 28th. It's going to be from 8:30 to 3 p.m. And again, road safety audits allow us to look at either a roadway or an intersection before any major issue happens. So it's a proactive approach, and it's meant to be a multidisciplinary team. So if there's a school or businesses or residential, public safety, we want public works, we do want a lot of different perspectives on this RSA team, environmental. So just encouraging you to wear that multidisciplinary hat. Who would you want on this team if you were to go and look at, again, an intersection or a roadway? So we welcome you to join us. If you are in any of the T2 Center programs for the local traffic authority, CT Safety Champion designation along with LTA elective credit, you can get 6 credits. All right. Does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you.
If no questions, just environmental planning, stormwater, and MS4 updates.
There's one other thing. Title.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chair. I want to talk about opportunities for data collection in our municipalities. As the weather improves and as we move into spring, we know that there are going to be more people out driving and walking. There may also be areas of concern in your municipalities where people have complaints or there are historical issues of crashes. So we do have radar counters that are available to collect data about traffic speeds, volumes, so that you can make informed assessments to be able to provide solutions to those challenges. That is something we'll be able to provide. And also maybe you might need pedestrian counts to know how foot traffic in certain areas of your municipalities. We did this last year and we were able to collect data for some of our municipalities. So now that the weather is better, we're willing to provide that as an additional service, technical assistance to our municipalities. So I would encourage us to, this link had been sent out in the agenda. So you could click on this link or even shoot me an email and then we can schedule it at those intersections or those corridors that you want so that we can gather the data for your municipalities. Thank you very much.
So I think, once again, we're not alone. I think we've, used your data or your information before and certainly appreciate NVCOG providing a level of service. A number of years ago, NVCOG had data that I really loved, which was you were able to ping phones. Then honestly, I think it was even the vendor was pushed, lost some of the data because they were pinging phones. Now they do it off of, teledata on cars.
Mm-hmm.
We have vendors chasing us. I would love to do it, but questionably, I think the cost is based on, the size of the town. And so for us, it's like 17 grand, which is too much just to get data, but it gives you speed, it gives you a destination, it gives you, essentially, other than turning units, everything you can get from counters. Has NVCOG ever looked at those services like on a regional basis?
So we still have a subscription for that. It's called Streetlight, is what we had last time, and we are still able to do those analyses on behalf of your municipalities. If any of you are interested, we can do turning movement count. That's probably one of the features I use most in Streetlight. Actually, is you can go to an intersection, draw some rectangles, and run analysis for a year or any time period and see how users are interacting with the intersection, who's going straight, turning left or right.
The one that contacts us the most, and we've talked to them a couple of times, and I apologize, I forgot their full name, there's an acronym, there's a T and a K in it. Are you familiar with well, if you don't mind, we'll talk offline and because that data is very good, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, we can talk offline about
It gets the whole town, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're able to, like I was saying, they're able to, like, on any street, say, what the speeds are, what the, traffic volume is, both directions, and then it also tells you, at least it used to tell you where they where their trip originated from.
Origin destination.
I would say like anecdotally, the way we use our data internally, sometimes we want to get a quick look, we'll use the streetlight data to get the big picture look, but if we really want to zero in, we do still go out and hang counters just to verify.
Honestly, with this other vendor, we even just then do a couple streets where we can give that to you and compare it to what you, with street, the street light comes up.
Yeah, certainly.
Any, other questions, comments? If not, thank you. Moving on, active transportation, micro grant program.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I want to remind this committee about the Active Transportation Micro Grant Program, which is a program of the Connecticut Department of Transportation, whereby a maximum sum of $5,000 is available to municipalities and their departments, nonprofits, schools, school districts, and health districts to be able to finance the purchases of bicycles, bicycle racks, helmets, reflective vests, and other associated equipment to enable people to walk, bike, and roll. We just finished a round for the first quarter of this year, and it was impressive. We had about 40 applicants and $190,000 representing 15 of our 19 municipalities. That will bring the total amount, if everything is approved, that will bring the total amount that we've got in this program since it started in 2024 to about $600,000. Last year, this COG got half of the $750,000 available for the program statewide. And preliminary reports say that we are beating everybody else as at this quarter. So I just want to encourage us that we should keep pushing for, your libraries, your parks, schools, so that we can get this money into our municipalities. The next round of applications will be due on the 12th of June. And so I just want to get the word out. Please reach out to me if you have an idea. Or last Wednesday, Waterbury had a bike rodeo giveaway program, the library. It was very interesting. They tied it to reading literacy. They gave out bikes to kids, 32 of them. It was a wonderful event. And so many kids were getting bikes for the first time. It was really exciting. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you very much.
I just make one more comment, sorry. There's the ability to get bike tools. So I'm pushing our school system to put together a little program to teach kids how to fix bikes. So getting the school system to move in any particular direction is always tricky, but I thought it was an amazing option as you think about what could be offered through this program. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Not environmental planning, stormwater MS4 update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. April 1st is a big day for stormwater. We have, as you likely know, MS4 reports are due to the state today. And also, if you're unaware, industrial permit renewal applications are due today. This could be if you have a municipal fleet that you're storing, like at a public works facility, you might have an industrial stormwater permit. So just wanted to kind of put a reminder out there, but also remind you that we're working to continue to grow our services offering to you. So on the screen, there's the an example of the desktop compliance form that Connecticut Deep is sending out to municipalities. So if you've received one of these and want to walk through it with us, we can talk about what services we can help you work on, or also maybe if you need to hire out, we can help support you on getting that done. And then I just put a couple of flyers also on there of services that we're building out. So we have this protecting stormwater quality flyer that we can make personalized to your municipality for you to put on your website as one of the public outreach requirements. And we also recently developed an illicit discharge reporting flyer. This is mostly for municipalities who don't have like a program that's an online form. Like if you just ask people to call your office, then we can make this nice flyer to kind of formalize that program. But in general, just wanted to make you aware we're here, and now that the annual reporting period is ending for this year, it's a good time to schedule a meeting with us so you can kind of set your goals up for this upcoming year, if you would like to.
Any questions or comments?
Joe Sutneski from Plymouth. I would just like to say that working with the NVCOG team for our MS4 reporting has been very helpful. Thank you.
And Jennifer Marr from Middlebury, I just wanted to say thanks, Molly, for all your help in our economy.
Any other questions, comments? If not, mapping data technology.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, also here to provide an update about our regional tree canopy assessment. So last week we hosted a lunch and learn. The recording is available if you wanted to scan the QR code, and if you couldn't make it. Really interesting conversations about tree canopy data, and just an update for you about the assessment process and where we're at. And so you all know we are in the process of developing our report from the data we've received, and that should be coming out in by like June, July. And if you want to go to the next slide, we have another. Well, we also want to just update you on the various outreach that we've been conducting. So you can see that we have worked with Wilby High School, and also worked with the Yukon Urban Forestry and Public Health event. So to do outreach to the community, urban and community forestry. And we have a bunch of upcoming events. So we'll be going to Ansonia Earth Day, also Woodbury's Earth Day. If you'd like to invite us to your own Earth Day event or Arbor Day event, please feel free to reach out. And we, I can move on to the next slide. We also have our next like big event that we're hosting is on May 6th. It's the Urban and Community Forestry Peer Learning Exchange. This is in partnership with the Nature Conservancy, who is currently working on developing an urban forestry network of professionals and people who work on this topic. So this event is focused on the NVCOG region, and it'll be an opportunity for anyone in the region to share about the community forestry work that you're doing in your municipality. It also is open to non-governmental orgs, so like community organizations, the public if they want to come, but it is during the day. And yeah, anyone who's interested. So with that said, I kind of alluded to it, but there are a period of lightning talks where people can give a 5-minute talk or less about just what they're doing in their town. So we really encourage, especially we know you guys are the experts of what's going on in your municipality as far as forestry. So we encourage you when you register to sign up for a talk. There's like a little opt-in button. And also feel free to reach out directly to me or Danny if you want to talk through what that looks like more. So yeah, hope you can make it.
Thank you. Any input, comments from anybody? Thanks for the information.
Next slide, one more. I wanted to, in relation to that, I wanted to talk about some opportunities for our municipalities here. One thing I want to encourage is for our local municipalities to apply to become a Tree City USA. It's a designation from the Arbor Day Foundation. I think is a great designation. We only have one currently in our region who's a Tree City USA, that is Southbury. But I'd like to see more of that. There's 4 fairly simple requirements to becoming a Tree City USA. The first is to have a board or tree department, so that could be like Woodbury has a Shade and Streets Commission or Shade and Streets Tree Commission, but it could also be your local Parks and Rec board or whatever board your local Parks and Rec department or whatever department your tree warden may be under. You got to have a tree ordinance. That's something that if you don't have, NVCOG would be willing to help write one up and discuss one with you. Big one is that you gotta have spending $2 per resident. So for some towns, that's as little as $6,000. For other towns, that's as much as $200,000. It is, I do want to note that staff time and also volunteer hours can contribute to that $2 per resident. So if you have a lot of volunteers who are passionate about trees, that can go towards that $2 per resident requirement. And then fourth and final requirement is to have an Arbor Day observance. So I want to encourage our local municipalities to look into that. Next slide.
Quick question, is that per year?
That
Per year?
$2 per, yes, every year. The Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and Forestry Division is having a Resilient Forestry Practices Grant. There's up to $150,000 for implementing resilient forestry practices on municipal land, municipally owned land. These practices can include, but are not limited to, invasive species removal, slash wall, construction, timber stand improvements, etc. There's a whole list on the QR code there of eligible construction or eligible treatments. It is only for municipalities with less than 50,000 residents. I have been in communication with Deep, and I am advocating that I know our 2 municipalities here are Bristol and Waterbury, over 50,000 residents. Both of them own land through their water departments in municipalities with less than 50,000 residents. I am advocating for those to be eligible for this grant, but I have not received word that they will be or not. So I hope to follow up with that sometime soon. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. That's all.
Is there a deadline for this?
The deadline for the RFQs are gonna be April 1st, or sorry, not April 1st.
It's a little.
I believe that's in July 31st is the date, if I recall correctly. But all the information is available there, and it will require working with either the state service foresters or a independent Connecticut licensed forester.
And Dan, not to put you on the spot, but last time you talked a little bit about your background, and honestly, you seem like you're a real resource potentially to municipalities. Can you kind of?
I am a Connecticut licensed forester. I am willing to help with the grant writing. But the marking and going out in the woods and actually doing forest work, that's a little bit outside of my scope currently here as a GIS analyst. And that was something that would need to be discussed further to further facilitate something like that happening, in part because one of my side businesses is doing that, and I would have to really step out of this as a conflict of interest, unless I was.
Yeah, I didn't ask for a specific thing.
But no, I'm just clarifying, so I gotta draw some boundaries here, but yes. I am a Connecticut licensed forester, so.
Any other questions or comments? If not, think the next order of business is miscellaneous. I guess just from my perspective, there was a more participation at this meeting than we have had in a while.
Yes.
To me, you know, participation to a certain extent is how much value the meeting has, to the people, coming. So certainly if there's any, recommendations, topics that, the committee members want, by all means, you contact, staff from, NVCOG or myself. If there's any, adjustments even to the, to the meeting as far as trying to keep them to a certain time. We do try to keep them to a certain time, but it's good to see more people, and certainly if there's a way that we can improve the meeting moving forward, by all means, we'll take, any input to that. And with that said, just on a miscellaneous item, is there any other items or topics that community members would want to speak on or talk about next meeting?
This, through the chairman, and it's gonna come back to, Ray. Yesterday, we had our American Public Works Association spring meeting at the Bradley Air Museum. It was a great event, our largest attendance, over 40 vendors. Probably driven by the guest speaker was the commissioner of the DOT. But coming back to Ray was selected as the DPW Director of the Year, not for NVCOG, for the entire state. Congratulations.
I would say that, to me, I certainly appreciated the board recognizing me. You go to a PPWA event, you look out in the crowd, certainly there's a lot of, people that put it, put on there. Just as worthy, as me. And I would say that, certainly I look at it as a award, not just for myself, but for the entire department, to a certain extent, the city. And I don't say that getting around. I have staff members that help me all the way through, and certainly the mayor, city council, I answer to the board of public works, and even our board of finance have always been supportive of their department. So I look at it as like a group effort. I did appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, if I may, two things. First off, thank you for hosting the NVCOG yesterday in Bristol and showing us a lot of the projects that your department's working on. It was really wonderful. We had a great time. We really learned a lot, so thank you. Just want to say thanks for that.
It was good having NVCOG there, and it's always good to show up.
Yeah,
the
we were
city.
very,
I
very.
think literally every step the city of Bristol is working on in that little, corridor.
Yeah.
We've completed a project or we're about to complete a project.
Yeah, so thank you again, and we look forward to maybe some other. So, the other thing, I just wanted to do a quick update about the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. The projects will be reviewed with the towns starting this month. It's a little bit behind schedule, however, we do have our tip list together. A lot of it, the MTP is going to go beyond that tip list, also looking further out into the future. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up and just to give you a little update. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other items under miscellaneous?
Again, through the chair, I just opened up the chat, which I'll read audibly for the recording. So James Stewart had commented that he needs to pop off, but that he would like to suggest as a topic for future discussion, the issue that we and other towns have been experiencing of delaminating of new concrete sidewalk surface when utilizing the state mix with strength concrete. Please call with me questions.
I think that is, I would recommend if we can get some information on it and put it on a future agenda. Maybe we can look into that. If there are no other questions or comments, the next item is adjournment. I guess before that, once again, sorry for being a couple minutes late. Motion to adjourn.
Gary, the motion.
All second. All in favor? Aye. Thanks, everybody.
That's good.